Hi guys, it's album review time and I'm going to talk about the albums I'll be listening to this week. One of them is the brilliant album by the band Crossing Rubicon. This is a new project, band if you like, and their album's called Perfect Storm. It's due out on Frontiers on July the 8th. This band has got some really talented musicians in it, guys. You've got Kenk Iroglu on guitar and keys, ex-Winger. Now, he's got a brilliant style to his playing. This is a melodic rock band, AOR, and sometimes a little bit heavier to go into that melodic rock type thing. For fans of, I would say, gives me real classic AOR bands like Journey, Toto, Foreigner. This really reminds me also of a great album that came out this year. Well, sort of this year. It was released in Japan last year. It's come out this year. Out of This World, the band Out of This World. A great album. And this sort of reminds me of that. It really does give me their vibes of Out of This World. And what I liked about that album and this album is what they've done. They've got those great AOR tunes that are just, you know, sort of bring back nostalgia, if you like. You know, the feels of those early to mid 80s. But what they've got is different than a lot of AO artists that bring out material these days. And that's the vocalist. They've almost got a real classic rock vocalist, you know, in the sort of style of Lou Gramm and people like that. And that's what I loved about Out of This World. And that's what I love about this Crossing Rubicon album, the powerhouse vocals to add to this brilliant AOR melodic rock music. Also joining Kenk, who's just a brilliant musician and songwriter, by the way. You've got John Bisaha. He's the vocalist I've been talking about. He does a bit of bass as well. He's in The Babies. Like I said, a great powerhouse rock vocalist. Just, you know, just ups the ante on this brilliant AOR album. And joining them as well, F.A. Iroglu on guitar and keys, and Reese Ali on the drums. Every bit of music on this album is pure classic AOR. And like I said, in the style of those brilliant bands, Journey, Foreigner, Toto. Just, man, just listening to this, it just makes me smile, because that's the sort of, when I listen to AOR, they're the sort of bands I want to hear. Pure AOR, classic stuff. And that's what Crossing Rubicon give us. It's an outstanding album, this, guys. I love every track on here, but I do want to talk about my favourite tracks. Before I do that, I want to say how great this album sounds. It's produced and mixed by Kenk, and it just sounds huge. And the balance he's got throughout this, you know, the guitar is, depending on what song it is nice up in the mix, and then he'll lower it down, but it's just brilliantly mixed throughout, just to give you every feel you want from every different song on this album. So talking about the tracks, kick off with the single Perfect Storm. Chuggy, upbeat, catchy, guitars up front on this one. I love the guitar tone that Kenk's got. The solo cuts through brilliantly on this song, as it does through on every single song. This is a great start to the album. Reason to Die is the latest single. Great control with the vocals going on here. Gets into that a falsetto, if you like, with ease, but sounding absolutely great. Not every vocalist, I think, that uses that falsetto sounds good, but this guy, John Bisaha, just sounds outstanding. Brilliant synth touches, giving me those 80s inspired melodies throughout. Scar is the next song I want to talk about. I love the mellow feel of this track. This is where Toto really comes to mind here. This has a real brilliant, classy feel of restraint. It's just absolutely outstanding. Too Late is the next song I want to talk about. I love this track. Acoustic guitar at the start. Then there's a really cool but sort of restrained, chuggy guitar part comes upon the track. But it's so classy again. Reminds me of mid-80s Foreigner, especially the synth work throughout. Outstanding track. Then we've got On the Run. We get a sort of crowd noise, and there's a heavy riff, and then you get a brilliant slice of melodic rock. Great guitar work, backed up by some sort of subtle synth touches. An outstanding track. 1,000 Years. This song is in ballad territory, although it's sort of not. It's sort of halfway between a ballad and not. All completely on the softer side, but we get the It's all sort of more on the softer side, this track. The guitar in this track is suitably put to the background a little bit more, giving it that proper AOR feel. Never Again, this is a proper ballad, this one. There's no mistaking this one is a ballad. It's got some great synth touches, reminded me of Frontiers era Journey. Some great harmonising, backing vocals, pure 80s inspired love song. Cry Me a River is a great track. Guitar and synths go hand in hand in the intro and we get a brilliant frenetic verse. Love that riff. Definitely a rockier song, but still keeping all the necessary instrumentations to fit properly in with that concept of the album's sound. I want to talk about the track Getaway. This one really defines modern day AOR. It's an excellent medium paced track that you could say reaches into ballad territory. Smooth and very classy song. They're my favourite tracks on this album, guys, but throughout this album is absolute class. Said if you love your classic sounding Journey, Toto, Foreigner, you're gonna absolutely love this. 3 tracks that are available now, have a listen to them. You get that, but a little bit more when you get this album. Absolutely pure, classy AOR. Then we move on to the next album I want to talk about, from a band called Soul Syndicate, a Swedish band. This has already been released today, the 17th of June on Scarlet Records. Man, this is a good find. I mean, I reacted to one of these guys' songs. It's the first song I ever heard of them come off of this album, and the album is absolutely superb. You got Jonas Manson on the vocals and guitar, brilliant vocalist. Sort of got quite a bit of aggression in his voice at times. He's a brilliant guitarist as well. Some great solos throughout this album. This is a real heavy album, bordering on metal, I would say, going from real heavy rock to metal. You got Katja Rusilla on the keyboards. She's a great keyboardist, and it's really cool because this album's quite heavy, but they give her plenty of space to do some really beautiful little keyboard touches and piano parts. So it's really cool throughout. You've got David Gustafsson on the bass and Henrik Zetterlund on the drums. Just a brilliant, tight, heavy rhythm section we got here. Fans, I would say, of even Alter Bridge would like this band. But also they've got a real classic heavy rock sound as well. So they mix the classic sound and modern sound perfectly. And yeah, I would say it's more on the traditional metal side, of course. Even there's signs for me that this band remind me a little bit of the metal side of Volbeat. You know, there's 2 sides to Volbeat as well. You've got the rockabilly side and you've got the sort of metal side. They remind me of the metal side of Volbeat. And I did mention this before, the band Spitfire, that have also brought a brilliant album out this year. This band really remind me sometimes of those. And you've also got that, the vocalist reminds me of him as well. And they've both got this sort of sometimes Hetfield sounding aggression to their voice. Love this album, guys. You are going to love this. I want to talk about my favourite tracks. So Forsaken kicks off the album. Metal, stuttering riffs, beautiful piano part. Then it kicks in fully with heavy riffing with atmospheric synth touches, a huge modern metal chorus that just soars. And man, when this band hit a chorus, you know it's the fucking chorus. You really do. They've got brilliant choruses throughout. Brave Enough is another single. This is the latest single. Heavy, catchy, excellent guitar solo. I reacted to this. Love this, guys. Verses and the bridge are outstanding. It's got a brilliant metal groove throughout. Shadow of My Love is another track. This is a slower track. Beautiful, dark ballad. Piano, acoustic guitar in those verses and a real catchy chorus. Misbehave. This is a heavy, fast-paced track. Sounds like a traditional metal track with those riffs. A really melodic chorus, so catchy. Some of the vocalist phrasing on this song really reminds me of James Hetfield. I'm not saying he sounds exactly like him, but at times does. Dust of Angels is next. This is a brilliant classic metal sort of minor riff kicking this off. And then you sort of go into a great medium paced track. Another excellent modern heavy rock chorus just lets this track just expand into something special. Then I want to talk about Sunset Strip. What a great groove this one has. It doesn't sound like a song out of 1985 in America, but it's just as melodic, but in a real great metal way. Do You Believe? This is a brilliant track. What a track. Great heavy rock song that just flirts with classic metal again and modern hard rock. An absolutely outstanding track. In the Absence of Light is a bit of a longer song, 6 minutes and 7 seconds, an epic metal track with great galloping rhythms. This one really does touch on some Dio influences in Sabbath for me. What a great slow to medium pace groove. Great stuff. The epic feel of this song is really ramped up with some quiet parts mixed with some heavy parts. Great track. The last track I want to talk about is the closing track, Into the Flames. This is a 10 minute and 25 second long song. Again, obviously really epic. For 3.5 minutes we sort of get a dreamy part, almost reminding me of Pink Floyd. Although I'm not a Pink Floyd fan, you know what I mean? It's sort of reminding me a little bit of them. But then after the 3.5 minute mark, the heaviness kicks in with a great riff. I like that sort of, this almost has, out of all the tracks on this album, almost have that European melodic heavy rock feel, like Eclipse and Heat slightly. I love this track, and the ending again really sort of slows down into a doomy ending, some real heavy crushing riffs. Absolutely epic. So guys, check this one out, Into the Flames by Soul Syndicate. If you love your classic metal, but you want some sort of modern feels sort of mixed in with it, you're going to love this. Soul Syndicate, Into the Flames. And the last album I want to talk about is by Civil War and Invaders. This is the Swedish band's 4th album. Came out today, June the 17th on Napalm Records. A few of these guys in this band from Sabaton, ex-Sabaton members. And of course, there's war themes, just like Sabaton is. But in this, it's sort of a bit different. I believe Sabaton touched more on the European sort of war themes. These guys touch more on sort of American side of war. But it's really epic sounding. I mean, it's a huge sound this band have got. It just sounds like there's about 10 people in this band. The sound they make is absolutely outstanding. Now, they're a little bit similar to Sabaton, and you can imagine the music would be, you know, with ex-Sabaton members. But what I like about this band compared to Sabaton, because I'm not a Sabaton fan, the vocalist, man, in this band is just outstanding. And I think that's what I miss about Sabaton. This guy, Kelly Sundown Carpenter, has got a huge, heavy rock stroke metal vocal. He could sing anything. Absolutely outstanding. You know, we're talking powerhouse vocals like Dio and people like that, you know, just couldn't sing anything, like a almost classically trained vocalist, but with so much power. I love his vocals, and I think that's what make this band really stand out for me compared to the band these guys used to be in. I really do. I love his vocals, and it just fits the music perfectly because it's an epic band, and they're epic vocals to go along with it. Joining Kelly Sundown Carpenter is Tobe England. He is ex-Sabaton on guitar. Amazing guitarist. Get some really cool sounds coming out of his guitar. Some great solo break-offs during this album. Riffing throughout. Some real heavy chugging riffs and some galloping and stuff like that. Amazing guitarist. Petrus Granar is on the guitar and bass. Yep, another... the bass guitar in this is brilliant. It's a really good mix on this album as well. Even though it feels like there's a lot of people on this album, the bass is really prominent. And him along with Daniel Mulbach, just pounding rhythms and double kick drums a lot on this. Also ex-Sabaton. Yeah, an amazing drummer. And just him and Petrus Granar just hit it off perfectly. Then you've got Daniel Mayer, also ex-Sabaton, on the keys. There's a lot of keyboards on this album. I mean, they're almost bringing this epic feel to life. You know, there's real atmosphere all the way through this album. There's quite a few keyboard solos as well, but it never feels out of place. They come in at the right time, and sometimes they swap. You know, you have a keyboard solo, then there'll be a guitar solo. Outstanding keyboardist, you know, and he's really busy on this album. You know, he's well worth having in the band. It's not an afterthought where you get a keyboard sometimes just now and again. This guy is a full member of this band. Like I said, it's an epic sound. It really is. It really makes you want to march into battle almost. It's brilliant. So kicking off this album, I want to talk about some of my main tracks that I like is Oblivion. This is the latest single. I love the feel of this song. It's an Arabian feel all the way through it, mostly. Epic symphonic soundscapes throughout, a huge sound. Got some fast double kick drum parts throughout. Got an excellent slow galloping part. It's about 2/3 of the way through with some choir backing vocals. Epic opening. Dead Man's Glory is a great track. It's the second track. It's an Irish feel to this one. A brilliant galloping track. Those Irish melodies continue throughout the track. Epic again. I love the way, like, you know, the first track was Arabian sounding, the second one's Irish sounding. You get that a lot throughout this album, but it's not the whole song. It's just not one melody. Almost the whole song sounds like that. Heart of Darkness, I want to talk about this one. Epic feel, ever present throughout this album, especially here. Pounding rhythms, some cool keyboard touches throughout, some brilliant cool chants from the backing vocals, bringing that huge sound that they have, and another choir type chorus. Andersonville, I want to talk about this track. It's an emotional ballad, if you like. The vocals are really emotional, tug at the heartstrings a little bit. A dark, brooding ballad. Choirs present again throughout. Keyboards giving a tense sort of brooding atmosphere. Amazing track. Soldiers and Kings is an excellent track again. Love the frenetic riff that runs through the verses on this one. Then we get some excellent galloping riffs, metal riffs, before hitting a brilliant battle chanting choir again. And the last track I want to talk about is Slaughterhouse 5. This is an excellent modern metal riff that wouldn't be out of place, I would say, on a Rammstein album. But then we go full steam into some classic metal territory with that epic sounding toe. It's a great heavy stomping track. So this is the first time I've heard this band, guys, and I'm really impressed. This is the fourth album. Just a brilliant album. Invaders, it's called. It's out now. Civil War, Invaders. They're actually called a power metal band, but I would veer more towards traditional metal with power metal tendencies, if you know what I mean. It's got a dark feel to it. You're going to love this album, guys. Civil War, Invaders. Check it out. And that's my album roundup of the week. I hope you like some of these albums. Let me know if you're going to get them or you've got them in the comments below. I'll see you soon.